Welcome to Jikoni Magic's Meza. Today I want to share with you my eggless banana cake recipe, and it's part of my ongoing series of baking in a sufuria. I hope that through this I can encourage the people who follow my channel and would love to bake but have no access to an oven to go ahead and do so. Okay, now before anything else, let's go ahead and prepare our sufuria oven. To start off with, you need a sufuria that's deep enough to accommodate your cake tin. An old sufuria will do very well. Secondly, you're going to require regular iodized cooking salt. Next, pour your salt into your sufuria, level it out, make sure that there are no lumpy areas, because if your cake is not standing properly, it's going to tilt to one side and it won't cook evenly. The next thing that you're going to need is a plate, a wire rack, or a sufuria lid like I'm using here. You'll also require a tight fitting lid that's going to provide that oven-like effect. So once you've assembled your sufuria oven, place it on your cooker on very high heat for 15 minutes. And as the sufuria oven is warming up, let's go ahead and work on our ingredients. So to my mixing bowl, I added 3.5 bananas. They were very ripe. As you can see, even some places had started darkening. They are not spoiled, they're just super ripe. And to that I added 1/3 cup of melted butter, followed by 1/3 cup of vegetable oil. I'm using sunflower oil, and 100 grams of white granulated sugar. Next, I took my handheld mixer and made sure that I broke everything down to a smooth consistency. You could also use a fork to mash everything up. If you don't have a mixer, it's okay. And this is what I was looking for. As you can see, it's quite smooth, although there were a few chunks of bananas here and there, but there were no big major pieces. That was okay by me. So the next thing that I did was add my dry ingredients into these wet ones, and I started by adding 1.5 cups of whole wheat flour, followed by 2 tablespoons of milk powder and 1/4 teaspoon each of cinnamon, ginger, allspice and cardamom powder, followed by 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And next I sieved everything directly into the mixing bowl, all the dry ingredients in there at once. And I also added 1/8 teaspoon of salt. And finally, it was time to fold in the dry ingredients into the wet ingredients. And I did this until everything was just combined. I didn't want to overmix the cake batter. And to that I also added 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and made sure that it was well mixed in. So here is my baking tin that I had already oiled and lightly dusted it with dry flour. I also lined the bottom with wax paper. So after that I added my cake batter into my prepared cake tin. It might look a bit dry to some of you, but this is the consistency that I prefer. But if it's still looking too dry for you, add about 1 tablespoon to 2 of milk and mix them in very well. So I tried to level out the cake so that it was even at the top, and then I tapped it a few times on the wax surface and then leveled it out again before placing it into the sufuria oven that had already warmed up by now. So I uncovered the sufuria and placed the cake in there, and it's important to work quite fast because you do not want all the heat to escape from the sufuria. But in your hurry to ensure that the hot air does not escape, make sure that the cake tin stands properly so that the cake does not cook unevenly. So cover, reduce the heat to medium-low, bake for 40 minutes, but on the 30th minute, please come and check on your cake just to ensure that it's baking properly and it's not burning or anything of the sort. So here we are after 40 minutes. As you can see, the cake baked beautifully and the toothpick that I inserted in the center came out dry. So now I took the cake out of the hot sufuria, let it stand for about 10 minutes until it cooled down enough for me to turn it over onto a wire rack, and I left it to stand for about 4 hours until it cooled down completely. So here is my wonderful banana cake. This is how it looked like. Okay, so the first thing that I did was to peel off the wax paper that I had placed at the bottom. and then proceeded to cut out a slice so that I could show you how the inside of it turned out. Please forgive me for the poor lighting. Daylight was fading fast and I had to record next to the window, but apparently the light was too harsh and reflected too much. So let me pull out the slice. You know, all those very nice superlatives that you can use to describe a banana cake. Well, this was all that and more. I'm sure you can see from the way it looks, the crumb was really nice. The cake was moist. And just to show you how the texture was, I broke off a piece of it and gently squeezed it in between my fingers. As you can see, it was very moist. And I also wanted to show you how the top of it looked like, and as you can see, it's still moist and soft, because sometimes you might end up with tops that really dry out for some cakes, but for this one it worked out really nicely. So I hope that you're going to try out this recipe, and before you leave this video, please hit the like button, share it with your friends, subscribe if you're not already subscribed to my channel, and be sure to check out some of my other videos, because I am sure you're not going to lack something that will interest you. Until next time, please keep it Jikoni magic. Goodbye.